We first saw Gummigoo a long time ago in the announcement of the first season of Digital Circus. A couple of days later, Gooseworx showed us one leaked image of Gummigoo. And after that, nothing related to this alligator appeared online anymore. However, Gooseworx said that this character may be the one that viewers will like the most. And even from the preliminary polls, we can understand that this mysterious character is the one that the audience is most excited and interested in. Hello everyone, and I think you would like to know more about Gummigoo, and in this video we will discuss who he really is, what will be his role in the new episode, and who are the two alligators who are apparently members of his gang. Let's first analyze all the scenes that we were shown in the official trailer and find everything that was hidden from our eyes. And based on that, let's try to understand what will really happen to Gummigoo in the new episode. Gummigoo first appeared in the trailer with his gang, and what we see. Gummigoo himself is quite a formidable character who is ready for any action to achieve his goal. And behind him, two of his friends are sitting quietly, but you can immediately realize that in their so-called gang, Gummigoo is the leader. You just have to look at them to realize it. The purple alligator looks like a classic fool who performs various tasks but fails all the time. And the second alligator looks really weird. There's also a truck on the other side of them that our gang is traveling in. Considering the place they are in, I can safely say that Gummigoo and his friends hardly have a permanent residence, and their lifestyle is gangster. Also note where Gummigoo is looking. Given the poor image quality, it is very hard for me to tell exactly what the alligator gang is looking at. Even after the upscale, it is still not clear what is in front of Gummigoo's eyes. However, I have a few theories. It could be just some rock, but I'm more inclined to believe that it is the Candy Castle wall. And this shadow is probably the entrance to some secret room inside the castle. But more on that later. Back to the truck, and we see that the Gummigoo gang has several of them, and one of them was stolen by the characters we already know well. And we see Pomni hanging on the roof of the truck where the alligator gang is traveling. This is also confirmed by another fragment from the trailer of the new episode in which Gummigoo looks out of the window and happily watches the truck with the circus residents wiggling from side to side. Maybe after the collision with Gummigoo's truck, the second truck got a flat tire or one of the wheels came off a bit. Also remembered a fragment in which we are shown how the truck of the alligator gang skidded and behind Pomni hides a purple alligator, which is soon caught and tied up. And left to follow him, it is Jax, but about this in another video. So we have preliminary information about what will happen to Gummigoo and his gang in the new episode. Of course, this is only a small part of what will really be shown to us about this character. So let's think logically and build the storyline according to the timeline of events of the new episode. We have realized that Gummigoo and his gang are the bandits of Candy Canyon Kingdom who are engaged in robbery and plunder. And as far as we can understand, their main goal is Candy Castle, where Princess Lulalalu lives. Most likely they have been working out a plan to rob the castle for a long time, but then Kane suddenly intervened and sent the inhabitants of the Digital Circus in a new adventure, and as if on purpose at the moment when our gang was already ready. After all, this fragment with tracking confirms that Gummigoo has already thought of everything. By the way, do you remember the binoculars that Gummigoo was holding in his very first scene? Soon Gangle has those binoculars. But we'll get to that in a couple minutes. So we already understand that Gummigoo is a negative character who will act as one of the main antagonists of the new episode. And as soon as the inhabitants of the circus appeared in Kingdom, then immediately all the plans of Gummigoo changed. And since we know that Jax is a very curious character, it is possible that he was the one who incited the other characters to go beyond the Digital Circus, and most likely not far from the castle, they just found the lair of Gummigoo gang and two trucks, one of which they successfully stole, and then Gummigoo has a more important job than robbing Candy Castle, namely the return of the truck. And it seems to me that there was something more important in that truck than the truck itself. What if the binoculars that Gummigoo originally had, and then Gangle had, are not the same item, but two different binoculars? Which means that the second truck may very well contain more important items that Gummigoo may have been collecting for a long time, and that he needs to carry out his evil plan. Okay, we'll continue soon. But for now, let's remember Gooseworx's words that Gummigoo will be the most memorable and probably the most liked character of the second episode. We have already found out that Gummigoo will be a negative character, and from that, you may wonder how this bandit can become a fan favorite. But let's just remember the pilot episode in which there was a very prominent Jax who was not exactly a positive and kind character either. For example, Regatha was indeed very positive and kind, but who needs that, and who remembered her as much as Jax? After all, it was Jax who became the main prima donna of the pilot episode and by popularity, probably compared even with Pomni. And based on that, I have some confidence that Gummigoo can also be a very badass character, but also very funny and entertaining. I would love to see a conversation between Gummigoo and Jax because it would be very funny. I think that if it happens, it will be one of the most memorable scenes in the new episode. Even just remember how Gummigoo smiled when the circus gang was very close to crashing, and how funny he reacted when he realized they had Pomni on the roof. And I think Gummigoo will have a very funny reaction when he finds out that his second truck is completely destroyed. Also, don't forget that Gooseworx directly stated that all new characters will be NPCs, which means that Gummigoo will unfortunately be a character that will appear in only one episode, and we will never see him again. Let's get back to the Gummigoo storyline. We understand that Gummigoo is a very smart alligator who takes his job very seriously. But what happens after Gummigoo realizes that his partner has been captured by the inhabitants of the digital circus? I think he and a second goofball will go to his rescue, and what do you think? Will he be able to save him? To get an answer to this question, we will turn to the fragments with Fudge Monster on which the second truck is seen, and we clearly understand that this fragment must be after the scene where Jax acts as a guard, which means that Gummigoo was able to save his partner. Also remember that in the moment when Gangle was driving the truck, Jax was able to get the gun, and most likely it is unlikely that they brought it with them, so it was stolen from Gummigoo. Maybe this shotgun was the key item for which the whole chase was organized. Also, we should not exclude the possibility that Gummigoo could steal Pomni to exchange it for the truck, but let's think that if the first scene with Gummigoo will be the final scene with this character in the new episode, and let's assume the fact that the reflection in the binoculars is the wall of Candy Castle with the entrance to some location. Let's remember a snippet from the announcement where Kinger hits someone with a shotgun. What if Gummigoo and his gang decide to enter Candy Castle through this weave called Dungeon and eventually meet the circus gang there? And it's quite possible that a little fight could break out between them. Of course, it's unlikely to be shown to us, but let's just say that it's a real possibility. And the character that Kinger is desperately beating is our Gummigoo. In general, we can say that we have considered many probable events that in theory can happen to Gummigoo and his gang. I almost forgot about the Gummigoo gang. It seems to me that this trio is a family and Gummigoo himself is the eldest son, and that purple guy is his younger brother. But the second very strange alligator could very well be their father, because even by the looks of it, he's the oldest and the calmest of the bunch. Let's summarize Gummigoo as a negative character that Gooseworx will add to the new episode in order to diversify the picture of the illusory goodness that happens in Candy Canyon Kingdom. Because if you look at it objectively, few people would be interested in watching the circus residents simply traveling and exploring the Candy Kingdom and performing simple tasks for Princess Lulilalu. And it is the appearance of Gummigoo that will be the anchor that will drag the main storyline of the digital circus. As I said before, the main role of Gummigoo will be the variety of the story due to his character, which as we have found out will be similar to Jax, and therefore the new episode promises to be very interesting. And of course, I am already impatient to know what Gummigoo is really up to and why he needs binoculars, shotgun, and 2 trucks, and we will find out that only on May 3rd. I hope you enjoyed this video about Gummigoo. Don't forget about feedback and see you soon in new videos that will appear as often as possible on this channel.